The global car industry is in for a wild ride. What's happening right now is nothing short of a seismic shift, one that's sending shockwaves through factories, showrooms and boardrooms all over the world. The cars we drive, the prices we pay, and even the jobs that keep our communities running are all being affected by a new wave of policies and international tensions. The United States, under the Biden administration, has enacted new tariffs on imported cars. These aren't just minor tweaks to the rules, they're sweeping changes that could reshape the entire auto industry for years to come. The move is part of a broader strategy to strengthen American manufacturing and protect domestic jobs, but it's also stirring up a lot of controversy. These tariffs are like extra taxes on cars made in other countries. When a car is built overseas and shipped to the U.S., it now faces a much higher cost to cross the border. That means foreign automakers have to pay more just to sell their vehicles here, and those costs often get passed down to consumers. They're designed to protect American car companies and jobs. The idea is to give U.S. automakers a better chance to compete, to keep factories humming, and to make sure American workers stay employed. For cities like Detroit, where the auto industry is the lifeblood of the community, these policies could mean more job security and a brighter future. However, they're causing a lot of tension with other countries. Allies and trading partners are voicing their frustration, warning that these tariffs could spark a trade war. Behind closed doors, diplomats and business leaders are scrambling to find common ground, but the mood is tense and uncertain. And they're making things more expensive for you, the American car buyer. If you're in the market for a new car, you might notice sticker prices creeping up. That's because those extra taxes on imports often get added to the final price tag, making it harder for families to afford the vehicles they want or need. These tariffs are a big deal. They're not just a blip on the radar, they're a major turning point for the industry. News outlets are buzzing, economists are weighing in, and automakers are rethinking their entire business models in response to these changes. The car business is huge, and these changes are rippling across the globe. Every year, millions of vehicles cross borders connecting countries and economies. Now, with new tariffs in place, those trade routes are being disrupted, and companies everywhere are feeling the impact. From Tokyo to Stuttgart, car companies are scrambling to adjust. Japanese and German automakers, who have long relied on the American market, are suddenly facing tough choices. Should they absorb the extra costs, pass them on to customers, or rethink their entire approach to selling cars in the U.S.? Some are building new factories in the United States. By manufacturing cars locally, they can avoid the tariffs and keep their prices competitive. Others are raising prices, hoping that loyal customers will stick with them despite the higher costs. It's a time of big decisions and even bigger risks. Everyone's trying to figure out how to navigate this new world of car tariffs. Executives are holding emergency meetings, analysts are crunching numbers, and workers are wondering what the future holds. The entire industry is in a state of flux, searching for a path forward. This isn't just about economics, it's about global politics. The decisions being made today are shaping alliances, influencing elections, and redefining how countries interact on the world stage. Trade policy has become a powerful tool in the struggle for economic dominance. Countries like Japan and Germany, major car exporters, are not happy. Their industries depend on access to the American market, and these new barriers threaten their bottom lines. Workers are protesting. Executives are lobbying their governments, and tensions are rising. They say these tariffs are unfair and could hurt the global economy. Economists warn that if countries start retaliating with their own tariffs, it could trigger a trade war, slow down growth, and even lead to job losses on both sides of the ocean. They're pushing back hard, and things could get tense between allies. Long-standing partnerships are being tested, and the outcome is far from certain. The world is watching closely, knowing that what happens next could set the tone for international trade for years to come. So buckle up. This story is about more than just cars. It's about the interconnectedness of our world, the delicate balance of trade, and the choices we make as consumers and citizens. Every time you buy a car, you're part of a much bigger story. It's about trade wars, jobs, and the future of how we buy and sell things around the world. The stakes are high, and the decisions made today will shape the economy, the job market, and even the cars we drive for generations to come. And it's going to touch all of our lives in one way or another. Whether you're a worker on the assembly line, a family shopping for a new car, or just someone who relies on global trade, the effects of this global shakeup are impossible to ignore. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the world of cars and the world itself is changing fast. The Biden administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and businesses, especially in key industries like automotive manufacturing. They say that for too long, countries like Japan and Germany have had an unfair advantage in the car market, making it difficult for American companies to compete. This has led to American factories closing and jobs being lost, impacting entire communities across the country. The tariffs, they say, will level the playing field for American workers and businesses. They'll make American-made cars more competitive and encourage companies to build factories here in the United States. This, in turn, will create jobs and boost the economy, helping local families and workers thrive. But not everyone is convinced by these arguments. Critics argue that tariffs are actually bad for the American economy and could have unintended consequences. They say that tariffs will lead to higher prices for consumers, making cars less affordable for many families. This means Americans will have less money to spend on other things, which could slow down economic growth and hurt other industries. They also argue that tariffs could hurt American businesses that rely on imported parts to build their products. For example, a car company that imports parts from Japan will now have to pay more for those parts, which could make their cars more expensive for buyers. Japanese car makers like Toyota and Honda are feeling the heat from these new tariffs. For years, these companies have been household names in the United States, known for their reliability, fuel efficiency, and value. But now, a new challenge is threatening their stronghold in the American market. For decades, they've been selling millions of cars to American drivers. From the iconic Toyota Camry to the ever-popular Honda Accord, these vehicles have become staples on American roads. Families, commuters, and even car enthusiasts have come to trust Japanese engineering for its longevity and low maintenance costs. But these tariffs are making their cars more expensive, which could hurt their sales. The price hikes are not just numbers on a sticker. They represent a real barrier for many buyers who are already feeling the pinch from inflation and rising interest rates. Suddenly, that affordable Japanese sedan is starting to look out of reach for some families. Let's look at the numbers. The impact of these tariffs is not just theoretical. It's already being felt in showrooms and on balance sheets. Analysts are warning that even a small dip in sales could have ripple effects throughout the industry, affecting jobs, dealerships, and local economies. Say a new Toyota Camry made in Japan costs $25,000. For many buyers, that's a reasonable price for a reliable, well-equipped sedan. It's a price point that has helped Toyota dominate the mid-size car market for years. With a 25% tariff, that price jumps up to $31,250. That's a $6,000 increase overnight, enough to make even loyal Toyota fans reconsider their options. For many, that extra cost could mean settling for a used car or looking at other brands that aren't affected by the tariffs. That's a big difference, and it could make American buyers think twice about choosing a Toyota over a cheaper American-made car. Suddenly, brands like Ford and Chevrolet, which aren't subject to the same tariffs, start to look a lot more appealing. The competition in the showroom just got a lot tougher for Japanese automakers. It's not just Toyota and Honda that are worried. The entire Japanese auto industry is on edge, watching closely to see how American consumers will react. Executives are holding emergency meetings, trying to predict how deep the impact will go and what strategies might help them weather the storm. Nissan, Subaru, and Mazda are also big players in the United States market, and they're all facing the same challenges. These brands have built their reputations on quality and innovation, but now they're being forced to compete on price in a way they haven't had to before. The tariffs are putting pressure on every Japanese automaker selling cars in America. They're now having to make some tough choices. Should they pass the full cost of the tariffs on to customers and risk losing market share? Or should they absorb some of the costs themselves, which could mean lower profits and even budget cuts elsewhere in the company? Do they raise prices and risk losing customers? Every price increase is a gamble, especially in a market where buyers have so many alternatives. Dealers are already reporting more hesitation from shoppers, and some are walking away from deals they would have closed just months ago. Do they try to absorb the cost of the tariffs and take a hit to their profits? That could mean less money for research and development, fewer new models, and even layoffs. It's a tough pill to swallow for companies that have spent decades building their brands in the U.S. Or do they try to move some of their production to the United States, which would be expensive but could help them avoid the tariffs? Building new factories, hiring American workers, and setting up supply chains is a massive undertaking, but for some Japanese automakers it might be the only way to stay competitive in a changing market. The decisions they make now could shape the future of the auto industry for years to come. Japan's Prime Minister is not mincing words. In a rare display of public frustration, he's taken a firm and vocal stance against the latest trade measures coming from Washington. The world is watching as he steps up to the podium, his expression resolute, determined to defend his country's interests on the global stage. He's called the new United States tariffs not just unfair but outright unacceptable. In his speech, he emphasized that these tariffs target Japanese industries in a way that feels punitive and unjustified, especially given the long-standing partnership between the two nations. The Prime Minister has argued that these tariffs violate international trade agreements that both countries have spent decades negotiating and upholding. He warns that such actions could seriously damage the strong relationship that has been carefully built between Japan and the United States over generations. The trust and cooperation that have defined their alliance are now at risk. Japan is a key ally of the United States, and together, they do billions of dollars in trade every year. Japanese cars, electronics, and technology are staples in American households, while American products fill shelves in Japan. This economic partnership has fueled growth and innovation on both sides of the Pacific, creating jobs and opportunities for millions. But now, this tariff issue is putting a real strain on that relationship. Tensions are rising and there's a growing sense of uncertainty among businesses and workers who depend on smooth trade between the two countries. Negotiation tables that were once filled with optimism now sit empty, as both sides dig in their heels. In response, Japan is threatening to retaliate with tariffs of their own on American goods. This move could escalate the situation into a full-blown trade war, with each side imposing more and more restrictions. The consequences could ripple through global supply chains, affecting industries far beyond just cars and steel. Determined to prevent further escalation, the Prime Minister has been flying around the world, meeting with leaders and diplomats to rally support against the United States tariffs. His diplomatic efforts are aimed at building a coalition of countries that value open and fair trade. He's been talking to leaders in Europe, Asia, and elsewhere, urging them to join Japan in putting pressure on the United States to reconsider its position. These meetings are crucial, as a united international front could persuade Washington to rethink its approach. This dispute is about more than just cars and money. It's about the rules that govern global trade, and the principle that countries should play fair with each other. Protesters and business leaders alike are voicing their concerns, warning that breaking these rules could set a dangerous precedent for the future. At the heart of the issue is the idea that international agreements matter. The World Trade Organization and other institutions exist to ensure that countries honor their commitments and resolve disputes peacefully. If these rules are ignored, the entire system of global commerce could be undermined. Japan is making it clear. The United States is breaking those rules, and they're not going to stand for it. The Prime Minister's message is firm. Japan will defend its industries, its workers, and the principles of fair trade, no matter how tough the fight becomes. The world waits to see what happens next.